Rain pattered softly on the windshield as 22-year-old Darren Cruz adjusted his side mirror, the yellow glow of the street lamp shimmering in the droplets. His phone buzzed beside him with the delivery address blinking on the screen. 47 Mayflower Drive, a cul-de-sac buried deep in an older neighborhood he'd never visited before. The map showed nothing but winding roads and blank spots, no street view. No clear satellite images. Another dead zone, he muttered, rubbing his temple. His manager had told him this would be the last order of the night, a single pepperoni. Pizza, no drinks, no extras, just cash on delivery. Easy. Except it was now close to 1:37 a.m., and most normal people didn't order pizza this late on a Thursday. Darren drove slowly, the tires crunching on gravel as the GPS stuttered, recalibrated, and then stalled. The houses grew older the deeper he went, porches with rotten wood, broken mailboxes, peeling paint. He slowed to a crawl and counted the addresses aloud. 40-1, ... 43, 45. Then he stopped. 47 wasn't there. Between 45 and 49 was an overgrown lot with a rusted iron gate pushed open, and a cracked stone path barely visible beneath the weeds. "This can't be it," Darren said under his breath. But as if answering him, the porch light of a small, hidden structure flicked on at the far end of the path, just barely visible through the trees. He looked at the pizza box on the passenger seat. It was still warm. Grabbing the box, he stepped out. The air smelled like wet soil and something else, something faintly metallic, blood-like. The deeper he walked down the path, the quieter everything became. No insects, no night birds, just the occasional gust of wind that made the trees whisper like something was breathing around him. The house or cabin at the end wasn't old so much as forgotten. Black shutters hung loose. The wood was grey with mold, the porch sagging, but the door stood wide open, and a warm yellow light flickered from within. "Hello," Darren called out. No answer. "Pizza delivery." He stepped inside. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped. His breath came out in small clouds. The living room was dim, lit only by an oil lamp sitting on a crooked table. Dust motes floated in the air, undisturbed. There was a smell of books, something burnt. Anybody home? He took a cautious step forward. The door slammed shut behind him. Darren whipped around. No one. He tried the handle. It didn't budge. His phone had no signal. Something moved upstairs. A soft dragging noise. Then silence. Against every instinct, Darren slowly crept toward the staircase, the pizza box still in hand, like a ridiculous shield. "Look, I'm just dropping this off. I don't want any trouble." The dragging resumed closer now, coming. Down the stairs. Step, step, scraped on, then it stopped. From the shadows at the top of the stairs, a figure emerged, bent over, bare feet, wearing an old, torn dress, long, black hair covering her face. She pointed to the kitchen. Darren, frozen, said, "Do you want your pizza?" She didn't speak then. Impossibly fast. She turned and vanished into the kitchen. He hesitated, but followed. The kitchen was dark, except for a small red light blinking near the fridge. He set the pizza down on the counter, heart pounding. "Okay, it's here. I'm leaving now." The red light blinked again once, twice, and then all. The kitchen lights exploded at once. Glass rained down. The pizza box flew open from the shockwave. Inside was not pizza but photographs. Dozens of them, of Darren, sleeping, driving, standing at the pizza parlor. His face in every one, some taken from inches away. He stumbled back, his scream caught in his throat. The house groaned. The windows began to fog from inside. On one of them, a message slowly appeared, as if written by an invisible finger. "You're next." Darren bolted. The front door now swung wide open, as if nothing had happened. He ran through the weeds, tripped, rolled, and scrambled to his feet. His car was still running. He jumped in, floored the gas, and didn't stop driving until he hit the city limits. The next morning, when he told the police, they returned to the address. There was no house, only an empty lot and a gate long rusted shut. But in Darren's back seat was the pizza box still warm, and inside it now just one photo of him, standing at the front door, smiling, but he swore he never smiled. Darren hadn't slept. The ticking of his old alarm clock sounded louder than ever. The shadows in his room refusing to behave like they used to. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the woman at the top of the stairs, her finger pointing to the kitchen and the box full of photos that should not exist. By morning, he'd convinced himself he was going crazy. But then came the knock. It was 7:14 a.m. A light drizzle washed over the city, soft and harmless. Darren pulled back the curtain and peeked out. Nobody. Another knock, this time from the back door. He froze. Nobody ever came to the back. It opened into a narrow alleyway filled with trash bins, where the light barely reached even during the day. He tiptoed toward the back door and paused. There was no silhouette behind the frosted glass, no movement. Slowly, he unlocked it and cracked it open. Just a box. A red pizza box, not from his store. A different color, darker, older. The design was faded, almost antique. There was no label, no name, nothing. He opened the lid. Inside, a cassette tape, just a plain black tape, and underneath it, a handwritten note. "You're not the only one." Darren slammed the door and locked it 3 times. He stared at the box like it might grow teeth and attack him. The tape sat there, silent, demanding against better judgment. He dug out his dad's old cassette player from the basement, blew off the dust, and inserted the tape. For a moment, only static, then a voice, male, tired, hoarse. "If you're hearing this, you probably delivered to 47 Mayflower. They always find someone new. They found me in 96. My name's Peter Delaney. I used to work for Tony's Pizza over in Highland. I thought it was a prank at first, a weird customer, some haunted house bull, but it's not. It's real, and it doesn't stop. They take photos. They follow you. At first, it's just shadows, reflections, dreams. But then you start to see her, the woman in black, always pointing, always silent. Don't go back. Don't deliver to any place you don't know. Don't answer blocked calls. And above all, the tape cut off. Darren hit rewind, fast forward, nothing. It wouldn't play again. He sat there, palms sweaty, heart trying to jump out of his chest. The silence in the house now felt alive, not peaceful, but watching. Later that day, he called in sick. His manager wasn't happy, but Darren didn't care. He wasn't going back there. Not yet, maybe not ever. But as evening approached, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He ignored it. It rang again. This time, a voicemail was left. He played it. A woman's voice whispered, "Your next delivery is waiting." No name, no address. Just static and something like laughter. Distorted and cruel. He turned off the phone and threw it across the room that night. He stayed in, all lights on, the doors bolted, but the sense of being watched grew unbearable. Every mirror seemed to reflect something that wasn't quite right. His reflection blinked when he didn't. Shadows shifted on their own dot. At 3:33 a.m., a single knock echoed through the apartment. This time, from the inside of his closet door. He didn't move. He stared at the door. Then slowly, the knob began to turn. He grabbed a lamp and yanked it from the socket, holding it like a weapon. The knob twisted, then stopped. Silence. Then a whisper through the crack. "You shouldn't have looked inside the box." He didn't sleep again. By morning, something inside him snapped. He couldn't live like this. He needed answers. He remembered. The voice on the tape. Peter, Delaney, Highland. Tony's Pizza. He found it. Still open, old school, cash only. He drove there in broad daylight and parked across the street. The inside of the shop was warm and welcoming. Photos of Little League teams and high schoolers covered the walls. An older man stood behind the counter, grey beard, eyes sharp despite. "The years, can I help you?" he asked. Darren stepped forward. "I'm looking for someone who used to work here. Peter Delaney." The man's smile faded. He glanced toward the back, then leaned forward. "What do you want with Peter?" "Think the same thing that happened to him is happening to me." 47 Mayflower. The man went pale. "Wait here." He vanished into the back room. Minutes passed. When he returned, he held a plastic folder. Inside were faded newspaper clippings, photos, even a VHS tape labeled Delaney menos 1996. He handed them to Darren. "Don't open this here, and don't come back." Darren opened the folder in his car. The newspaper headlines were chilling. Local pizza driver vanishes, only vehicle found. Tony's employee claims haunted delivery found. Raving, institutionalized. One photo caught his breath. A delivery boy standing outside a house. Same angle, same cracked stone path. Same porch, same woman, watching from the upstairs window. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number, this time. The message was text. "Part 2 has begun. You just turn the page." As he looked up, a man was now sitting in the passenger seat. Not possible. Doors hadn't opened. Windows up, but he was there. Drenched, pale, mouth stitched shut, and in his hand, a pizza box. He slowly placed it in Darren's lap, then vanished. Darren opened it. Inside was his own severed tongue, but he could still scream, and as he did, his phone recorded the sound automatically, labeling the file, Track 2, Scream Delivery. The doctors said Darren was lucky. That's what they always say when they don't have answers. He was found at 4:18 a.m., unconscious inside his locked car in the Tony's Pizza parking lot. Screaming, but without any visible injuries, no tongue missing, no signs of trauma. But his throat was raw, like he'd been yelling for hours. When they examined his phone, the recording labeled Track 2, Scream Delivery, was gone, just static, like it had never existed. Darren didn't believe them, because in his lap still warm was a pizza box. They never checked it, because the moment paramedics arrived, it had turned into a regular pepperoni slice, half-eaten. But he knew what he saw. He knew what he felt. When he was discharged later that day, he went home and locked everything. But the dread followed him like a second skin. His apartment felt smaller now, like the walls knew what was happening and wanted it to continue. The hallway light flickered endlessly. Faucets dripped in rhythm, like a ticking clock. Then came the envelope. No return address. Just his name, written in thick red ink. Inside, a photograph. It showed his bedroom, taken from inside his closet. He was asleep in the image, mouth slightly open. But what chilled him to the bone wasn't just the angle, it was the reflection in the mirror across from the bed. A tall figure, standing over him, wearing a cracked porcelain mask, and holding a pizza box below the photo. A message: "You opened the door. Now keep delivering." That same night, his doorbell rang. He watched from the peephole. A man in a red jacket stood holding a thermal delivery bag. Not Darren's pizza parlor. The logo was old, unfamiliar. The man's face was strange, smiling too much, like his skin had been stretched to do it. Darren didn't open the door. The man waited for 20 minutes, then left the bag at the doorstep and walked into the street, disappearing without ever turning a corner. Darren stared at the bag. He shouldn't, but he did. He opened it. Inside, 3 slips of paper, 3 new delivery addresses, no names, just times. One was circled in black ink: address 1326, Halverton Lane, time 2:13 a.m. tip, guaranteed. He considered burning the paper, ripping it, running. But something inside pulled him forward. 13 to 6, Halverton Lane wasn't far. A 15-minute drive at most. He told himself it would just be a prank. A test. Maybe if he delivered this one, it would stop. The neighborhood was almost invisible on the map. Tucked behind an industrial area, the roads unmarked. He found the street, eventually lined with half-demolished homes and fog that refused to lift. The houses looked more like husks, their windows blackened. Their porches caved in. .1326 was the only one with a working porch light. Of course it was. He parked, stepped out, no birds, no crickets, just the low hum of something distant, electrical, like a deep heartbeat beneath the world. He approached the door, knocked once. It creaked open on its own, a voice from within. "Leave it in the kitchen." He blinked. The house was dark and empty. He stepped in. Same smell: old wood, rotting paper, something metallic. He walked to the kitchen. There, waiting on the counter, was a tape recorder. No pizza, no people, just the recorder, and something else. A mirror, a tall, freestanding mirror that hadn't been there a second before. Its surface flickered like water. As Darren stared into it, his reflection moved on its own. It smiled, then it opened its mouth and screamed so loud that the mirror cracked. And something reached out from inside it. A hand, long, thin, with too many knuckles. Darren stumbled back, but the hand didn't grab him. It touched the pizza bag he was still holding and pulled it into the mirror. Then the mirror turned black. Darren backed out of the kitchen, his pulse racing. From upstairs came the sound of a child laughing, then silence. He turned to run, and standing in the hallway was a man. No eyes, no nose, just a mouth stretched ear to ear. "Thank you for delivering," it said in a voice that was not a voice. Darren ran. The house groaned, warped. The door had vanished. He kept running, down a hallway that stretched longer than physics should allow. Doors appeared on either side, slamming shut as he passed. Whispers in each room: "We see you. You brought it. You're next." Then he found a window. He crashed through it, landing on dirt. He was outside again. The house behind him now looked normal. The lights off, silent. No man, no mirror, no tape recorder. He drove without looking back. At home, he found a new note waiting on his bed. Written in burned paper: "TWO deliveries remain. Finish them, or someone will deliver you." And at the bottom a new address. But no time, just 3 words. Bring a witness. He understood what they wanted now. This wasn't about pizza. It was about stories. Terrors passed down, shared, delivered, And now Darren was the courier of something older than fear itself. Something that lived in shadows, mirrors, and midnight knocks. And the only thing more dangerous than delivering to these places was refusing. The next day passed like a dream you couldn't wake from. Darren sat on the edge of his bed, holding the burned paper with the message, "Bring a witness." He thought about calling the police, a friend, anyone, but who would believe him? Who would agree to follow him into a place where the rules of time and physics broke like glass, where mirrors screamed and empty houses remembered your name? He had one option. Manny, they weren't close friends anymore, not after a fight they'd had last year. But Manny used to be a conspiracy junkie, always chasing urban legends, filming ghost hunts for his YouTube channel. If anyone might believe him, it was Manny. Darren drove across town and parked in front of a beige duplex. He knocked hard. The door opened. Manny blinked in surprise. "Well, damn. You still alive?" Darren didn't waste time. He held out the paper. "Read this, then listen to me for 5 minutes. No jokes, no camera, just trust me." Manny glanced at the note, snorted, but when he looked up, his smirk faded. "You look like you've been sleeping in a war zone, man." "I haven't slept at all." They sat at Manny's kitchen table while Darren told everything, the house on Mayflower, the box of photos, the scream tape, the man with no eyes. Every detail. Manny didn't interrupt. Not once. When Darren finished, he waited. Manny leaned back. "This some next-level creepypasta. It's not fake. I know," Manny said, his voice quieter. "Because I think I've seen one of those houses before. On the deep web. There was this guy, Roadkill Survivor 7. He posted about delivery addresses that didn't exist. Houses that moved. Said he delivered pizza to a house that vanished the next day. 2 weeks later, he went missing." Darren nodded slowly. "I need a witness. And I think the next house is tonight." Manny stared at him, then stood up. "I'll bring my camera." "No recordings," Darren snapped. "They don't like being seen." Manny raised his hands. "Fine, just flashlights and prayers then." That night, the address appeared on Darren's windshield, 247 Vexley Road time. 1:13 a.m. They drove in silence, passing out of the city and into the dead zones. Vexley wasn't on any GPS. They followed broken road signs and strange curves that didn't exist on any map. The air grew colder, the night thicker. Then they saw at point 247 Vex lay an abandoned motel shaped like a horseshoe. No lights, no signs, just 3 stories of broken windows and a flickering neon sign that spelled OT_L. One of the doors on the second floor was open. Room 213. "Of course, it was I'll go first," Darren said, grabbing a flashlight. They climbed rusted stairs, the metal groaning under each step. Darren could feel Manny behind him, tense but curious. Inside, room 213 was too clean, dust-free, polished floor, a bed with white sheets, a nightstand with a single item, a vintage rotary phone. It rang the second Darren touched it. He answered. A voice whispered, "Thank you for bringing him." Manny laughed nervously. "Okay, that's not cool." The closet door in the corner creaked open. A figure crawled out. Not walked, crawled. Arms twisted the wrong way, bones cracking its head. Dragging on the ground, hair matted and soaked with something black. Bat, Manny gasped. What the thing stood. It wore a pizza delivery uniform, but the skin beneath it was wrong grey, waxy, stretched. Its name tag read, Roadkill number 7. Darren pulled Manny toward the hallway, but the hallway was gone. Just an endless motel corridor stretching in both directions, doors on each side. Whispers leaking from every room. You brought him. You are him. Now deliver. Room 213 behind them was gone. They ran, but no matter how far they went, the hallway stretched. Darren stopped. It's looping. Manny panted. This is insane. Then the hallway lights went out. Pitch black. Footsteps echoed. Something began walking, slow, deliberate. Each step too loud, like someone stomping through water. A match flared beside them. It was in Darren's hand. He hadn't lit it. The flame showed a door to their left room. Oh, no handle, just a hole. Do we go in? Manny asked. Darren didn't answer. He pushed the door. It opened into a massive cold storage room. Dozens of delivery bags lined the walls, each one with a name: Peter, Darren, Manny, you. One bag in the center pulsed. He opened it. Inside was a tape labeled Final Delivery. They didn't take it. They ran. Somehow, they reached the motel parking lot. The sky above was cracked like glass over stars, revealing something writhing behind the atmosphere. They jumped in the car and didn't look back. Manny didn't speak until they hit a gas station an hour later. What the hell is this? He whispered. Some kind of test. A curse. I think it's a game, Darren said. A ritual, a message being passed on from one driver to the next. Something wants to be remembered, and it's using us to do it. Manny lit a cigarette with trembling hands. Are we done? Darren shook his head. He pulled out another note that had appeared in his pocket, written in smeared sauce. Final stop. Deliver alone. No refunds. No returns. Address. Unknown time. When you're ready. Below that, a photo of Darren, standing in front of a house. One he hadn't visited yet, but the woman in black was already there, smiling. The final delivery wasn't about time anymore. It was about acceptance. Darren knew this the moment he saw the photograph, his own face, standing at the threshold of a house he'd never been to, yet felt etched into his memory like a forgotten scar. The house was waiting. It had always been waiting, for him. He dropped Manny off without saying much. Manny didn't argue. His face had changed, not just with fear, but with the understanding that some knowledge can't be unlearned. As Darren drove off, he looked in the mirror and caught Manny whispering something to himself. A prayer, maybe dot or a goodbye. The road ahead was blank. Literally, no street signs. No road paint. No cell service. Only a thick fog clinging to the earth like wet wool, and the sensation that his tires weren't on asphalt anymore, but something older, something bone deep. Then the house appeared. It rose from the fog without. Transition. One moment, there was nothing. The next, it was there. A tall Victorian thing, rotting in places but still proud. Its many windows dark like dead eyes. The porch light was on. Of course it was. He stepped out of the car. The air didn't move. The fog didn't shift. He held the final pizza box, even though he hadn't packed one. It had simply appeared in his passenger seat as he drove, warm and whispering. Whispering, he walked up the path. The grass on either side was black and brittle. The porch creaked under his weight. No knocking this time. The door opened by itself. He stepped inside. The house swallowed the light behind him. The moment he crossed the threshold, the door vanished. Not closed, vanished. A wall now stood behind him. He was inside. But inside what? The hallway stretched on, every inch of it lined with framed photographs. Of him, not just recent ones. Childhood. Pictures. School photos. Moments he didn't remember, captured in perfect clarity. And others photos of him delivering pizzas to houses that didn't exist. Houses he hadn't seen yet. One image showed him kneeling in front of something blurred. Crying dot in another. He was smiling wide, but the smile wasn't real. Too many teeth. Lips peeled too far back. The walls pulsed. He walked forward. Each step echoed like a drumbeat in his skull. Then, at the end of the hallway, a single door, painted black, no knob. Just a slit at the bottom, large enough to slide something under. The pizza box fit perfectly. He knelt down. His hands shook as he slid the box beneath the door. A low groan echoed from the other side. Not a human groan. Something wet and ancient. A sound like a grave breathing. Then silence, and the door opened. Inside was a room that should not exist. The walls were alive, breathing, stretching, covered in carvings, not symbols, but names. Thousands of them, every person who had ever delivered to this place. Many crossed out. Some, still fresh in the center, stood a chair, facing the corner. Someone sat in it, not moving. "Hello," Darren whispered, no reply. He walked closer. The figure in the chair was himself, but older, grey hair, wrinkled face, eyes wide open but completely black. "Who are you?" Darren asked. The figure spoke with his voice, but not his will. "The final delivery is you." And then the lights died. Pitch black, footsteps circled him. Laughter, screams, his own screams. Then silence. Darren opened his eyes. He was standing on a quiet suburban street. His car idled beside him. The pizza box was gone. So was the house. No fog, no cold. Birds chirped. He blinked. A woman walked her dog nearby and waved at him. He waved back somehow. He was back in the real world. But it wasn't over, because something followed him back. He saw it in mirrors. For only a split second, a tall shadow. Behind him, watching, waiting, his phone buzzed. A message, delivery complete. You are now the address. And that's when the stories began to change. Online forums filled with tales of haunted deliveries, drivers disappearing, photos appearing in pizza boxes, whispers on cassette tapes. But one story kept repeating. A driver named Darren, who answers the door when you knock, but he's always smiling too wide. And the pizza he gives you is always cold, but inside is a photograph of you sleeping.